You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. Never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can, we're Americans.
This is Rio of Madison Rising, and you're listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, everybody. Woo, it's good to be back. Pretty quick tonight. Before we do, I want to remind you that coming up next after me is Jesse's POV. I believe there is a new show now in the slot behind Jesse, and then there is Rowdy Rick with America Off the Rails. I do not know what the new show is yet, but I will. So what else is going on before we get rolling into the scripted part of the program? We got the big Kanye controversy going on. Apparently people are losing their collective wigs over the fact that Kanye thinks that you can do better if you really want to, no matter who you are or what color you are. What a novel thought. I mean, you know, and I'm hearing things like people saying that Kanye's not a real black person, and that just, it kills me. It kills me that they trap themselves in the kind of mentality that says, I deserve something because of something that happened a few hundred years ago, and it doesn't matter what I could be if I applied myself and tried. What matters is what you should have done for me. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? Slavery was an ugly, ugly thing, and it still is an ugly, ugly thing, but nobody wants to talk about modern-day slavery. Everybody wants to pretend like slavery's over with. Well, it's not. But, you know, that's here nor there. The fact is that Kanye's no conservative. Okay? Kanye made a lucid point, and he's being ridiculed for it now, harshly by the left, especially Maxine Waters. Congresswoman Maxine Waters said that Kanye was speaking out of turn. So what I want to know is when's his turn and who gets to tell him what he says? Because that's the other thing Maxine said, is that Kanye struggled with making coherent thoughts and that he needed help. Of all people, to tell somebody that they can't string a couple of thoughts together. Maxine Waters? Anyway, I don't want to go on a big rant about that. So we're just gonna leave that where it is. Hearts are breaking. Thoughts and prayers to the families tonight in Savannah and wherever they may be other than Savannah. The 5 servicemen killed in the crash there today. Cargo plane went down just outside of Savannah. And terrible. Anytime that happens, absolutely terrible. In other news, bicyclists should be run off the roads any chance you get. No, I'm kidding. Of course they should not. And that's a problem for some because you don't know how to take a damn joke. So work on that, okay? And it's not all bicyclists. It's not, because I actually know some that are really good about following all the traffic laws. They do it just like the cars and motorcycles do. They don't get in the way, and if they get in somebody's way, they get off the road. How about that? It's amazing. Anyway, back to the scripted portion of the show. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, on Monday unveiled what he said was a half-ton of Iranian nuclear documents collected by the Israeli intelligence service, claiming the trove of information proved that Iranian leaders covered up a nuclear weapons program before signing a deal with the international community in 2015. In a speech delivered in English and relying on his trademark use of visual aids, Prime Minister Netanyahu claimed that the material showed that Iran cannot be trusted and encouraged President Trump to withdraw from the deal next month. Iran lied big time, declared Netanyahu. His presentation, delivered on live TV from Israeli military headquarters in Tel Aviv, was his latest attempt to sway international opinion on the nuclear deal. The agreement offered Iran relief from crippling sanctions in exchange for curbs on its nuclear program. Netanyahu furiously fought the deal while President Barack Obama was negotiating it, and he has been a leading critic since it was signed. He says it does not provide sufficient safeguards to prevent Iran from reaching nuclear weapons capability. And I believe he's right. Netanyahu has found a welcome partner in President Trump, who has called the arrangement the worst deal ever. But then, doesn't he say that about just about any deal he doesn't negotiate? I don't know. I'm just saying. So anyway, President Trump has signaled that he will pull out of the agreement by May 12th unless it is revised, but he faces intense pressure from European allies not to do so. Netanyahu said he would share the newly uncovered information with Western allies and the International Nuclear Agency. There was no immediate response from Iran, which has adamantly denied ever seeking nuclear weapons. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency, believed to be close to the hardline Revolutionary Guard, dismissed Netanyahu's speech as a propaganda show. Netanyahu said that Israel had obtained some 55,000 pages of documents and 183 CDs of secret information from the Iranian nuclear weapons program called Project Ahmad. He said the material was gathered from a vaulted Iranian facility a few weeks ago in a great intelligence achievement. That would be they stole it. But hey, that's okay. I mean, that's what you do, I guess. If it's legit, we'll find out. He began his presentation with a series of video clips of Iranian leaders saying their country never pursued nuclear weapons. Netanyahu provided no direct evidence that Iran has violated the 2015 deal. Also, the deal is not believed to have banned Iran from keeping its old records. But Netanyahu said the existence of the documents proves that Iran is waiting to resume its race to build a bomb. We can now prove that Project Ahmad was a comprehensive program to design, build, and test nuclear weapons. We can also prove that Iran is secretly storing Project Ahmad material to use at a time of its choice to develop nuclear weapons. Trump set the May 12th deadline to decide whether to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal, something he appears likely to do despite heavy pressure to stay in from European allies and other parties. Both Trump and Netanyahu say the deal should address Iranian support for militants across the region and Iran's development of long-range ballistic missiles, as well as eliminate provisions that expire over the next decade. Ahead of Netanyahu's presentation, Iran's foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif, mocked the Israeli leader by tweeting out a photo of Netanyahu's famous 2012 UN speech in which he used a cartoon-like drawing of a bomb to rail against Iran's nuclear program. Zarif said, "The boy who can't stop crying wolf is at it again." Undeterred by cartoon fiasco at United Nations General Assembly, you can only fool some of the people so many times. So, what is going on? Well, I guess we'll find out as the 55,000 pages of documentation has gone through by obviously what will be a massive team of Western allies and their intelligence officers. It's just a matter of time before we find out. I don't think Netanyahu's crying wolf. He doesn't have a reputation as being that person. There's no doubt that Iran was after nuclear weapons. It just makes all the sense in the world. So let's find out what's in the documentation. I'm always good for waiting for the facts. All right, so with that aside, this one you're going to love, okay? And I got to thank Rowdy Rick for this story, because when I saw it yesterday, I had to work this in, and who knew it was going to be such a good piece? But a 3-judge panel of the 9th United States Circuit Court of Appeals on Monday found that an ape, yes, a monkey, an ape, a gorilla, satisfies the criteria for standing to bring a lawsuit under Article 3 of the Constitution. I could sit here and look at that one little sentence and just gawk at it for hours. The stupidity that reigns in the 9th Circuit on full display this week. Now, the panel did conclude that this particular case could not proceed because the apes do not have standing under the federal law at issue, but it did acknowledge that they meet basic requirements for standing set out by the Constitution. I wish they would elaborate on what that is. Now, this is the truth. You think it's been mind-boggling till now? Wait till you get a load of this. The case in question began in 2011, 7 freaking years ago, when a wildlife photographer named David Slater left his camera on a nature reserve in Indonesia. The camera was recovered by a crested macaque, a black ape native to isolated corners of the South Pacific. And the ape, through his curiosity, managed to take selfies with the camera. Now, the camera was later reclaimed by Slater, and thereafter he licensed the photos to several British media publications and published a volume of quote-unquote monkey selfies on a digital platform. Now, I know, sounds perfectly harmless, right? I mean, what could possibly be the problem here? Well, here's the problem. Following this, PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and a primatologist named Dr. Antje Engelhardt sued Slater for copyright infringement, arguing that the selfies were the lawful property of the ape. Now, a federal judge in San Francisco dismissed the case, prompting an appeal to the 9th Circuit. So Judge Carlos Bea, a George W. Bush appointee, wrote Monday's decision for a 3-judge panel, Bea decided the 2004 Ninth Circuit decision called Cetacean Community v. Bush, in which the court suggested whales, porpoises, and dolphins could sue the U.S. Navy for damage inflicted by sonar technology. The suit was not allowed to proceed, however, as the relevant environmental laws did not extend standing to animals. Monday's decision followed a similar trajectory. The court agreed that apes satisfied the requirements of standing under the Constitution. The ape suffered a tangible injury directly traceable to Slater's actions. But as in the cetacean case, the Copyright Act makes no reference to animal standing, warranting the case's dismissal. So basically what they're saying is you sued under the wrong guise. Instead of summarily laughing these morons out of the courtroom, they basically told them how you have to go about doing this. See, the Copyright Act does not expressly authorize animals to file copyright infringement suits under the statute. Therefore, based on the court's precedent in cetacean, this macaque lacks statutory standing to sue under the Copyright Act. Now, PETA argued the act may well grant standing to animals because it extends standing to other non-human entities like corporations and associations. Now, the Ninth Circuit rejected that contention, noting that U.S. Supreme Court considers corporations persons for purposes of standing, while the cetacean case requires Congress to explicitly grant standing to animals. Wow. So actually, there was something wise that the Ninth Circuit did. That in itself is cause for celebration and amazement. Slater and PETA settled the dispute in September of 2017. Slater agreed to pay out 1/4 of future revenue generated from the photos to various charities that protect the habitat of the black macaque. The Ninth Circuit decided a decision should still be issued to provide another authority for the growing body of animal rights laws. So get this, people, you go to a zoo, you won't be able to take pictures of the animals anymore. No, you will not. The panel detected ulterior motives on PETA's part in the settlement. In the wake of PETA's proposed dismissal, the macaque is left without an advocate, his supposed friend having abandoned his substantive claims in what appears to be an effort to prevent the publication of a decision adverse to PETA's institutional interests. Good for them, smacking down on PETA. A footnote to the decision reads, were he capable of recognizing this abandonment, we wonder whether the macaque might initiate an action for breach of confidential relationship against his former friend PETA for its failure to pursue his interests before its own. Puzzlingly, while representing to the world that animals are not ours to eat, wear, experiment on, or for the use of entertainment or abuse in any other way, PETA seemed to employ this macaque as an unwitting pawn in its ideological goals. You know, basically, PETA's a hypocrite as an organization. So, ta-da, PETA sucks. Still. Okay. So enough of PETA sucking, because that's never going to end. We're going to move on. We talked about one congresswoman already tonight. We're going to bring up another one. We're going to bring up Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, everybody knows Nancy. She is kind of starting to feel the wrath of being in office for too long, I think. She's stumping Democrats for touting their newer New Deal. So recently, Nancy entered the storied halls of Georgetown University with the hopes to rally the fresh-faced, moldable minds in support of her brand of socialism, but she was very sadly disappointed, sparking pundits and party officials to hint that the maven of misspeak might see the end of a lengthy career in pork-filled politics. Now, Pelosi, who is obviously not known for her oratory skills, was visibly taken aback when one student questioned her choice of verbiage when referring to her declaration that crumbs were the only benefit of the Republicans' tax reform efforts. The student wondered out loud, oh, the horror, if she wanted to walk that statement back. She was thoroughly schooled at school. Now here's, the student's name was Sam, and this is what Sam had to say. As the son of small business owners, I know that it's helped my parents hire more employees. It's helped us pay off our mortgage faster, and it helped put me through college. Would you still refer to the effects of this tax plan on average Americans as crumbs? Now, Pelosi reluctantly admitted, stammering through her reply, that yes, there are some benefits that some are feeling in a particular way with the tax bill. Whether or not she is feeling the relief on her paltry $196 million net worth was not confirmed. She touched on the topic of abortion briefly, stating that as a Catholic, she followed the church's doctrine but would not let that get in the way of protecting abortion rights. Isn't that the same thing as saying that you'll follow the church's doctrine as long as it doesn't get in the way of you getting votes? Another hypocrite. A filthy, stinking, lying hypocrite. Now, when queried about disruptions on campuses, shouting down potential speakers, clearly violating the First Amendment, she offered this sage response. Put me down as one who just says, don't make a fuss. If somebody's going to come and speak, just let them speak. She was incredibly polite during the entire town hall, so there is that. But Pelosi, who is basically considered the matriarch of Capitol Hill, has got to be feeling the heat of the heirs apparent in the microcosm that is California's 12th district, entirely within the city limits of San Francisco. And she has felt the wrath of her own people grow more intense over the last few years. Last fall, while holding a press conference to discuss a DACA deal negotiated with President Trump, illegal immigrant activists assumed to be friendly and eye candy for news cameras became restless with her political rhetoric. The event spiraled out of control and Pelosi was made to leave while illegals shouted at her retreat with derisive remarks, liar, liar, and chants of leave office. Democrat politicians are not accustomed to the hate spewed by unruly demographics, the powerful blocks of hate they have created. Pelosi definitely has a target on her back, and if you can believe any kind of polling, recent polls point to an all-time low in respect from colleagues and popularity numbers for Pelosi. For instance, the latest Wall Street Journal NBC News poll, Pelosi received a 21% positive rating, lower than the NRA at 37%, lower than President Trump at 37%, and lower than the GOP at 30%. So what it boils down to, folks, is there really are not a lot of warm, fuzzy feelings associated with Nancy Pelosi, who even some progressives blame for failing to recover from large House losses in 2010. As Oregon Democrat Kurt Schrader, who used to lead the 18-member Weak Blue Dog Coalition, quipped, "I have liberals back home. The one thing they really like about me is the fact that I voted against Nancy." Ouch. It was one of the many red flags that points to the end of Pelosi's domination within the Democratic Party. Now, does this mean she's out? Well, not just yet. But the most glaring traitor to Pelosi is turning out to be the mainstream leftist media, who are beginning to drumbeat for resign and retire. From cable programs to print dynasties, Pelosi's future is being outwardly questioned. There are a lot of ifs in the new narrative constructed by the Democrats, but the consensus appears that if they take back the House, Pelosi will not retake her leadership position, despite what she says, because she does say that if they do it, she will run for Speaker. And there may be a retirement party in the works, according to some. The left are cannibalizing their own right now. And quite frankly, the Republicans are remiss for not at least setting the table to enjoy the feast. Folks, it is the bottom of the hour. We got to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to touch on a couple of other things we got ready for you tonight. So do yourself a favor. We'll be back in about 3.5. Stay tuned.
Oh, but ain't that America for you and me?
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, babe.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Again, quick programming reminder. Coming up following me at the top of the hour, Jesse's POV. Then I believe our new program. Yes, Rick?
You'd have to talk to Ann about that. I haven't been given any information yet.
Okay, so maybe not. I don't know. And then the nightcap with Rowdy Rick, America Off the Rails. Do yourself a favor and stay tuned, because we know what's going on.
We do? Wait, where's that guy?
Yes, no kidding, right? All right, so anyway, unfortunately, when it comes to news, sometimes the news is really sad. And we had some sadness over the last week. The little English boy who touched millions of hearts around the world, Alfie Evans, has passed away. And I do want to take a minute or two to talk about this case. It was infuriating. It was sad. It was absolutely ridiculous to watch what NHS did over in Great Britain. 23-month-old Alfie Evans survived for 5 days after being taken off life support. Now, when he was taken off life support, the doctors told his parents that he would be gone in a couple of hours. 5 days later. 5 days later of starving the boy and not giving him water. Court rulings barred his parents from taking him abroad and allowing Liverpool's Alderhay Hospital to withdraw his ventilation. It drew widespread concern and condemnation. Tom Evans, Alfie's father, said, "My gladiator lay down his shield and gained his wings," and that they were absolutely heartbroken. "I am deeply moved by the death of little Alfie," tweeted Pope Francis, who earlier threw his support behind the parents and actually had an Italian hospital ready to accept Alfie, had a plane standing by to fly him, but NHS would not allow that. The death of Alfie Evans is devastating news. And while his life was short, Alfie brought millions of people together in support of his precious life and his parents' brave struggle on his behalf. Alfie was admitted to the hospital in December of 2016 with a severe but undiagnosed brain condition. The toddler's parents, Tom Evans and Kate James, wanted to take him to Rome's Bambino Gesù Pediatric Hospital. And last Monday, or 2 Mondays back, Italy's foreign minister and interior minister granted Alfie Italian citizenship in the hopes that would facilitate his immediate transfer to Italy. But the doctors argued that continuing treatment would be futile and allowing him to travel abroad would not be in his best interests, because taking a chance to survive is not in your best interest if you're sick. Because doing everything you can for your child to help them is not in their best interest. Because the government in Great Britain will tell you what's in your best interest and what's in your child's best interest. You need not make any decisions for your children. Simply ask your local MP. The government will tell you. The case saw Alfie's parents clash with Alder Hey medical staff. Although on Thursday, Evans issued a statement indicating he and James wanted to begin building a bridge with the hospital and work with his treatment team on a plan that provides our boy the dignity and comfort he needs. On Saturday, the hospital, in a statement, said it expressed its heartfelt sympathy and condolences to Alfie's family at this extremely distressing time, but not enough to let him get help. They continued to say that all of us feel deeply for Alfie, Kate, Tom, and the whole family, and our thoughts are with them, but not a thought of letting them try to get help where help might be available. The hospital earlier reported that its staff had faced a barrage of abuse relating to the case, both in person and via phone calls, emails, and on social media platforms. And brother, you can believe I took part of the social media abuse that they suffered. British law allows for courts to overrule parents if their decisions on treatment are determined by doctors not to be in the child's best interest. I know that screams at us as Americans, because we don't know what that's like to be told you're not free to do everything you can to try to save your life or your child's life or anybody's life. I truly, truly feel bad for the people of Great Britain that don't know any better, that don't understand that there's a better way. And it's up to the people of Great Britain to remove the people from office that would keep them in these kinds of chains. And it is a kind of chain. It is being ruled over as a serf. That won't happen here. We have a Second Amendment to make sure of that. Stephen Wolfe, an independent member of the European Parliament for North West England, last week launched a campaign for legislation called Alfie's Law, which would support parents in such cases. Among other things, Wolfe explained in an op-ed that in the Independent that Alfie's Law would give the right for a second opinion from a parent-chosen healthcare professional who is independent of the National Health Service and would force the courts to give this medical opinion equal weight. Equal weight. Why would the parent and another healthcare professional only get equal weight to the government-funded National Health Service? Now, look, National Health Service is not technically a government agency in Great Britain. Oh, they're funded by the government, and they basically do what the government tells them to do, but they are technically not a government agency. So if they're not a government agency, why should they have a 50% stake in somebody's child's life when the parents and another healthcare professional would have a different opinion? And if the opinions are of equal weight, how in the hell is a court supposed to decide who's right and who's wrong if they're weighing both decisions equally? It's not like the court has any medical experience to base their opinion on. I don't know. I think back to what our country started with why the founders left Great Britain, why they came here to strive for what they strived for the founding documents that they created, where our freedom is based and outlined. And I think to myself, there's nothing in this world that could stop me from doing whatever I could to save my kid. And I just don't know how they put up with it. Anyway, while we have that freedom to strive for everything that's better in this world, to make our lives better on our own, through our own hard work and personal responsibility, there are people in this country that are neglecting the opportunities we're giving. This next story, 65% of 8th graders in American public schools in 2017 were not proficient in reading. And 67% were not proficient in mathematics. And this is according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress test results released by the United States Department of Education. The results are far worse for students enrolled in some urban districts. Among the 27 large urban districts for which the Department of Education published 2017 NAEP test scores, the Detroit Public Schools had the lowest percentage of students who scored proficient or better in math, and the lowest percentage who scored proficient or better in reading. Now get this, okay? Because I want you to think about how these teachers in places like Chicago and Detroit walk out of the schools demanding more money, okay? And places like Cleveland. Think about this, because here we go. Only 5% of Detroit public school 8th graders were proficient or better in math, and only 7% were proficient or better in reading. They couldn't hit double digits in one category. In Cleveland public schools, 11% of 8th graders were proficient in better in math, and 10% in reading. Baltimore public schools, 11% in math, 13% in reading. Fresno public schools, 11% in math, 14% in reading. Where they make fun of people for being hicks and rednecks. Louisiana public schools, 19%. No, that's not a great number. It's not a great number at all, but it's double what you're seeing in these major metro areas. 19% in math, 25% in reading. New Mexico public schools, 24% in math, 20% in reading. The Department of Education's National Center for Education Statistics describes what it means to be proficient in math and reading. 8th graders performing at the proficient level should understand the connections between fractions, percents, decimals, and other mathematical topics such as algebra and functions. Students at this level are expected to have a thorough understanding of basic level arithmetic operations and understanding sufficient for problem solving in practical situations. Now, when it comes to reading, students performing at a proficient level should be able to provide relevant information and summarize main ideas and themes. They should be able to make and support inferences about a text, connect parts of a text and analyze text features. Students performing at this level should also be able to fully substantiate judgments about content and presentation of content. The NAEP math and reading scores are tested on a scale of 0 to 500. The average reading score for an 8th grade public school student was 265, which was just 1 point above the average score from 2015, but slightly below the score of 266 from 2013. Any way you cut it, people, our kids aren't doing well in school. Now, we could have a whole week-long discussion over what's going on in the schools and what needs to change in the schools. There are a plethora of things that could change to help the students. The number one thing that could change to help the student in any discussion that we could possibly have would be parents being parents instead of their kids' best friends. Do your damn job of raising your kids. You make them respect you at home. You make them respect adults in school. Anyway, that's my starting point to jump off. Oh, we're getting tight on time. We got Trump going to speak at the National Rifle Association convention in Dallas on Friday because he supports the Second Amendment, according to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Safety and security is a big priority for the administration, but we also support the Second Amendment and don't see there to be a problem with speaking at the National Rifle Association meeting. Trump is scheduled to speak Friday at the annual gathering in Dallas. Vice President Mike Pence will also deliver the convention's keynote address later that day. Of course, the NRA, Chris Cox, NRA president, says that they are honored to welcome President Trump and Vice President Pence. Of course, who wouldn't be? I mean, you know, how dare a president go and speak in favor of our constitutional rights? How dare he? And while I'm sure there's going to be a meltdown somewhere on the left, as it should be, the president has said he will be unapologetic in our celebration of American freedom. And, you know, protesters, they're already planning a quote-unquote die-in, which, you know, spare me. Spare me. You do a die-in in front of me, and I'm going to do a walk-on. That's just how it's going to work. And I'll just apologize for, quote-unquote, not seeing you laying there. So anyway, that's, you know, that's what's going on with NRA. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein defending himself, going on the attack against some Republicans who allegedly drafted articles of impeachment about him. Rosenstein said the Justice Department will not bow to outside pressure. He says they can't even resist leaking their own drafts. And Rosenstein was referring to a House Freedom Caucus document that was made public Monday. The conservative group of lawmakers drafted articles of impeachment against the DOJ's number 2 man in 8 bullet points. Rosenstein noted that no signatures appear on the document, so it's unclear which Freedom Caucus members wrote it. He says, I just don't have anything to say about documents like that nobody has the courage to put their name on and that they leak in that way. I don't think that anybody has a real problem putting their name to it as part of the Freedom Caucus. Now, Rosenstein said numerous threats have been leveled at him as the DOJ investigates whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. We know that didn't happen already. Rosenstein is overseeing the special counsel probe because Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself from it due to his work on the Trump campaign. I can tell you that there have been people who have been making threats privately and publicly against me for quite some time, Rosenstein said. I think they should understand by now that we're not going to be extorted. We're going to do what's required by the rule of law, and any kinds of threats that anybody makes are not going to affect the way we do our job. We have a responsibility, and we take an oath. That's the whole point. Now, Rosenstein has come under fire from President Trump and some Republicans because of his role in the Russia probe. He recently signed off on raids of the two offices, a hotel room, and an apartment tied to Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. Representative Mark Meadows of North Carolina serves as chairman of the Freedom Caucus and fired back at Rosenstein via Twitter. During Tuesday's event, Rosenstein also addressed the FISA court, which has come under intense scrutiny because DOJ officials used it to kick off the investigation into certain members of the Trump campaign in 2016. He said there's a lot of misinformation thrown around regarding the secret body. There's a lot of talk about FISA applications, he said. Many people that I see talking about it seem to not recognize a FISA application is actually a warrant, just like a search warrant. In order to get a FISA search warrant, you need an affidavit signed by a career federal law enforcement officer who swears that the information in the affidavit is true and correct to the best of his knowledge and belief. That's the way they operate, he said. And if it's wrong, sometimes it is. If you find out there's anything incorrect in there, that person is going to face consequences. Well, let's find out then. Let's find out if there's going to be any consequences. Because right now, nobody's even allowed to look at the freaking FISA warrants. Okay, and from what we're seeing, they're using false information to get them. So let's get these people in place, and let's find out what the hell's going on. All right, so we got a couple minutes left. Let's see if we can squeeze this in. Even though we've known for decades that with the most of us never. When the legality of the Bible be put in jeopardy. Yet in the socialist state of California, that's exactly what appears to be happening. Assembly Bill 2943 would make it an unlawful business practice to engage in a transaction intended to result or that results in the sale or lease of goods or services to any consumer that either advertises or engages in sexual orientation change efforts with an individual. In the bill, the phrase sexual orientations change efforts is defined as any practice that seek to change an individual's sexual orientation. This includes efforts to change behaviors or gender expressions or to eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attractions or feelings toward individuals of the same sex. By this definition, that would include the Bible, since the Bible explicitly condemns homosexual behavior and defines marriage as being between one man and one woman. That means that if Assembly Bill 2943 is officially signed into law, it could ban the sale of the Bible in the state of California, which for obvious reasons would be an assault on not just the Constitution, but every fabric of America. First and foremost, the First Amendment guarantees that each citizen is endowed with the inalienable right to free practice of their religion without interference from the government. This includes not only the reading of the Bible, but also the private sale of the Bible from individuals or companies looking to spread the Christian faith. Banning the Bible, which Assembly Bill 2943 would in all likelihood do is a clear violation of the freedom of religion as outlined in the Constitution. Secondly, we don't have time. Damn. All right, we're going to save that because we're going to get back into this. There's another story that ties into it loosely. We'll save this for next week. Folks, it has been a pleasure being back with you this week. Do yourself a favor. Stay tuned. Jesse's POV is next. Rowdy Rick with America Off the Rails is a little later. I am your friendly neighborhood Grouch. I will catch you on Twitter tomorrow, folks. Have a good night. And don't forget, if you like the show, tell your friends. If your friends like the show, you need new ones. But bring them back every week with you. And you're welcome right here with me.
Our way of life, never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans.